Have you ever gotten something unexpected and it wasn't exactly what you wanted, but now that you have it, you see how perfectly it was presented to you? That's kind of how I feel about this week's chapter. Hello, Internet. I am the hero of Julios, back again with another chapter review of One Piece. This chapter is chapter 991, Let Us Die. Which is not exactly the kind of chapter title you want to hear right as a fight is starting to, kind of tip in the favor of the good guys. But we're going to start with the chapter cover as we usually do. This is a nice page. We got Pound finally getting to hug his daughters. He's very happy about that. I'm very happy about that. And it's honestly, I feel like the chapter cover story series could end right here. I'm pretty sure we're all right about the wedding, but overall, this would in itself already be a perfect ending. The family's all back together, and things are the way it's supposed to be. But taking into account, let's move on to the very first part of the chapter. So, things are finally starting to heat up here. We got Hyogoro and Page One. They're both kind of trying to figure out what just happened, because in the last chapter, X-Drake came crashing down on one of the numbers. And we saw from that, as Hyogoro pointed out, he was in his dinosaur form when he did so. So the samurai know that he is an enemy, and Page One is now super confused because that was his friend. Well, I don't know how friendly the Tobiropo are with each other, but it's pretty obvious that Page One is confused as to why Drake did what he did. That being said, though, he immediately looks up at Luffy, says, "Hey, Straw Hat, you gotta let me help you. I'm a one-man wrecking crew right now, and I'm going to die, basically, if you do not assist me." And Drake has a flashback to Kobe telling him about, kind of similar to the speech that Mihawk gave during Marineford, of Luffy is the kind of man where people are just naturally drawn to him. And if the going gets tough, you can trust him. If you're his friend, he is super dependable. If you're his enemy, there's absolutely no way you can convince him. Luffy is a very black and white person when it comes to friends and foes. Now, this is true for Luffy. As we see immediately after Drake, presenting his argument to Luffy, Zoro comes crashing down on him. Frankie is against this idea because, Frankie's not a fan of turncoats. Jinbei even mentions that among pirates, there is still a sense of honor, and Drake is not the kind of person we can trust Luffy. So the whole crew is totally against it, and in his usual Luffy way, Luffy's just like, "Now we're good. You're fine. You're on. Come on. You'll help us. We'll help you. It'll be great." And once again, the crew looks at him, calls him an idiot, makes him, they tell him, you can't be serious right now. And Luffy's like, "Come on. We're good. We're fine." So Luffy lets Drake in. From a distance, Ulti and Page One are looking on at this. And they see that, they see Luffy again. Page One puts the dots together and says, "Oh, I think that Straw Hat guy might actually be the one in charge." And Ulti, is already mad at Luffy because it's Luffy's fault that Page One fell down some stairs, It's totally not Ulti's fault at all. She would never hurt her precious Pepe. So the two siblings take on their dinosaur forms. I think Ulti actually goes into her her hybrid form, but the two of them start charging towards Luffy, and only to have Page One met once again with another attack to the face. He takes a skull bomb grass from Usopp right in the face, and Ulti sees it. She gets upset. She tries to find out the source of the hit, and Nami is just standing there, and Nami calls out to them, "It was me! It was Nami! I am gonna kick your butts! It is I, Nami, destroyer of dinosaurs! Fear me! Hide and cower at my fury!" So it turns out Usopp's actually the one secretly behind her. We know that Usopp's the one that fired the shot. However, Ulti just automatically assumes it's Nami. She starts charging towards her. Page 1 is charging along with her. And Nami's like, whoa, hang on, it wasn't me, but fine, the fight's starting. And Nami books it. Usopp books it right next to her. So with that, we have our first matchup for the Straw Hats. We have Usopp and Nami versus Page 1 and Ulti. I did not see that coming. That was not in my predictions at all. I thought maybe like Usopp and Nami would take on, I guess that's the weird thing is I think of the main like named enemies, the numbers are probably the weakest, followed by the Tobi-Roppo are like right above them. If Usopp and Nami pull this off, then the physically weakest members of the Straw Hat crew are as strong as New World captains, which will show how strong the Straw Hat crew truly is. It's just really nice to see this kind of combo. I mean, I think the last time we saw Usopp and Nami team up was at the end of Punk Hazard when they were both just firing at Buffalo and Baby 5. But now we have an actual fight for the two of them. I don't think Nami has had a real like one-on-one fight since it had to be, she took a swing at Absalom, but I think Nami's last real fight was all the way back in Enies Lobby. So it'll be nice. Plus, this also harkens back to other combo fights that's happened. Particularly, one of my favorite fights is Usopp and Chopper versus Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas. So it'll be nice to see Usopp and Nami teaming up. I also am interested to see if maybe because of this combo, Usopp can tell Nami new things about her perfect ultimate, climate attack. So with that, the two of them run off, the two dinosaurs chasing after them. That fight is finally starting to be underway. Meanwhile, as Nami and Usopp are running away, Sanji's with Luffy, and he tells, Usopp, you better take care of Nami, you better make sure she's okay. While Sanji's distracted, either Luffy saw Apu up ahead, or he, because of his observation hockey seeing into the future, he knew Apu was going to attack. But he tells Sanji to cover his ears. The two of them do so, and then Apu attacks, and, the two of them... I like that Apu... That's not how covering your ears works. Like, you can't just... Even though I put my hands on my ears, I can still hear other people talking to me. But... I guess that's enough to block out Apu's attacks, and so Apu, doesn't land a hit. He goes, I see you've learned how to defend yourself from my power, Straw Hat, but you will find it's very difficult to fight in the quiet. It's difficult to fight quietly. If only there was a member of your crew who had the ability to fight while his hands were completely unusable. If only you had someone like that. If only there was a member of the Straw Hat crew who never used his hands. Almost like a guy who only fought with his feet. That would be a good opponent. That's not who ends up fighting Apu, though. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Apparently, one thing Apu can do with his music, even though his opponents are protecting themselves, is he can summon the numbers. I'm going to guess the numbers love to boogie. They love to get down. I mean, we know they love to drink. But Apu's music summons Hacha. And it turns out Hacha is nice and sober and ready to rumble. I do want to take a moment to mention that I noticed that Apu was crying when he was talking about the three numbers who've gotten knocked out. I don't know if that was sarcastic or if Apu's really that attached to these guys. So I'm interested to see if maybe there's some kind of not history, but if there was just some kind of bonding that happened that made Apu grow really attached to these guys. If nothing else, though, We know that the numbers don't particularly care about each other because right after Apu summons Hacha, he picks up another one of the numbers, Jockey, and is getting ready to use that guy like a weapon. To put that in perspective, oars, that would be like oars using oars as a weapon to attack people. And we all know how big oars was to begin with. So this is nuts. This is kind of a nightmare. However, we do get a nice enough distraction as Hacha looks around at the enemies and he looks down and he sees the General Frankie, and Jinbei's just like, Frankie, run. You got to get out of here because a rampage like that in here, the samurai don't stand a chance, and he's looking at you. So Hacha's chasing after the General Frankie like it's some big old toy, and we have our next matchup. I'm going to guess that it's not the Frankie Radical Beam is not going to take out Hacha. I don't know if that's because Jockey being number 5 is weaker than Hacha being number 8, or if it's because Hacha is sober, and by being sober, you know, he's got his wits about him and a punch to the face isn't going to be that easy. Either way, it seems like that's going to be our next fight. That being said, I wouldn't put it... It's hard to gauge how powerful a character is based on what little information we have right now. Frankie taking on one of the numbers, is that a more exciting fight than Nami and Usopp taking on Ulti and Page 1? We won't know until the fights actually begin. So, back to Apu. As Hacha is running off chasing after Frankie, Apu's like, well, that doesn't matter. I'm just going to call more of them. And he starts banging his drum and, you know, clashing his head and all that, only to be swung at by Zoro and X-Drake. And Drake's like, okay, we got to take this guy out. He can't summon more numbers. And Zoro replies with, seems like we have a mutual agreement. Let's just take him out together. And even Apu, you see like a little bubble of him just be like, what? Because he knows he can't take on the two of them at the same time. That's not a fair fight for two of the worst generation to be attacking one. It's going to be a bloodbath. However, the odds are evened when Gatling fire rains down from the sky, as Queen has not forgotten, that a fight's going on below him. So Queen's got this big Gatling gun, and he's firing it. Now, normally bullets don't, really worry too much. We've seen Zoro, we've seen Luffy, we've seen them take on much worse. However, Drake mentions that those bullets might be something more. My guess is those are the same bullets that Queen used back in Udon. Those are the bullets that caused the spreading disease that were killing all the prisoners. The ones that Chopper managed to cure. I think the fight's going to be Apu and Queen versus X-Drake and Zoro. For now. But through whatever happens, Chopper's definitely going to be involved. At least that's my opinion. Chopper should be involved. This is a serious disease. Queen the Plague. It just seems like it all fits together nicely. Plus, we actually haven't seen any action from Chopper in a couple chapters. Aside from the group shot a few chapters ago, Chopper hasn't really done anything. And as we're setting up these fights, probably next chapter we're going to get Chopper, Sanji, Robin, their fights, and how those are going to start. Jinbei hasn't gotten into a fight yet, so all this while Luffy is still charging towards, trying to get to Kaido. Speaking of Kaido, we finally reach back to the top of Onigashima, where Jack has taken a beating. Like, I didn't think... I knew that, Duke Dogstrom and Cat Viper were going to do a number to him thanks to their Sulong forms. But I didn't think it was going to be to the point where Kaido was like, that's enough, I gotta protect my boy. And this This really confuses me, and this is why we need this is why we need a Kaido flashback. I don't know whether to call Kaido worst dad ever for putting, chains and handcuffs on his daughter, or best dad ever because he, handpicked Jack and wants to protect him, and I don't know. Is Jack the son that Kaido always wanted and never had? Like, what is the relationship here, and why is Kaido so huge into protecting his subordinates? It's not like Big Mom where, it's just another kid. Or it's not like Blackbeard where if he dies or if he's left behind, that's his fate. Kaido's starting to become more complex, and I like it, personally. Very much so. We finally get a reveal of the Sulong forms of Duke Dogstrom and Cat Viper. They look pretty cool, actually. I really like the big, fluffy fur of Cat Viper's Sulong form, and Duke Dogstrom looks super wolf-like. We all kind of knew that was coming, but their Sulong forms are very epic. They're everything we were hoping they would be. At least I was hoping they would be. And Kaido is finally stepping in. He is rearing up, preparing his breath, and he just launches fire at the Sulongs and all the minks, and he's going to take them all out. And Kinemon, Foxfire Kinemon, he slashes the fire, and I think he cuts Kaido as well. If the panel, looked the way I thought it did, I thought I saw some blood there. But it's interesting because Kinemon says right to himself, the thought never occurred to me, and then he cuts Kaido's fire. So as long as Kinemon stays in the front, cutting the fire in half, the rest of the samurai can charge forward and take on Kaido. Long story short, though, this is the summary of the chapter. We got all the characters starting to fight, here and there. I'm looking forward to big things. I hope when Luffy shows up, when Luffy finally makes it to Kaido, that's when the flashback begins. I would prefer we get all the Kaido flashback, then the fight between Kaido and Luffy, rather than the Kaido-Luffy fight, and as Luffy's delivering that final punch, we get Kaido's flashback. I would like to know. I want to get attached to Kaido before I see him lose. That's how I feel about it. A final note that did just occur to me just now, though, is King. King has been very silent. He was right next to Queen when, Queen grabbed Luffy and Zoro and threw them back to the ground. But we didn't see anything from him since. What is he up to? Why is King so important? That is a big question in my mind. But I'm sure that'll be answered within the next few chapters. We only got 9 more chapters to go before chapter 1000, everyone. So stay hyped, stay excited, and I will see you in the next chapter. This is the Hero of Julios, Xing out.